The fall of Constantinople, May 29, 1453, conquered by Sultan Muhammad II of the Ottoman Empire after besieging the city for 55 days, put an end to the capital of the Byzantine Empire, ending its reign for over 1,100 years. The once thought impenetrable city had fallen, and with it ending its millennia of ancient history and culture. Today it is known as Istanbul, a part of the Republic of Turkey, founded in 1923 after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. Although it's an entirely new country today, let's go back to the beginnings of Constantinople to see how this centuries-long lasting city stood for so long. The earliest evidence of human settlement in Istanbul, dating back to the Neolithic era, indicates the presence of Thracian tribes in the settlement known as Lygos. Later, Greek colonists from Megara arrived in the 7th century BCE, founding the city of Byzantium. The ancient Greek legend refers to a legendary king Bezos as the leader of the Megarian colonists and the founder of the city, colonizing Byzantium in 667 BC. Byzantium was established on the site of the ancient port settlement named Lygos. During the period of Byzantium, the Acropolis used to stand where the Topkapi Palace stands today, in Istanbul. After the victory of Septimus Severus, the city was besieged by Rome and suffered extensive damage in AD 196. Byzantium was later rebuilt by Septimus Severus, now emperor, and quickly regained its previous prosperity, being temporarily renamed Augusta Antonia by the emperor in honor of his son. The name appears to have been quickly forgotten and abandoned, and the city reverted to Byzantium after either the assassination of Marcus Aurelius or Caracalla in 217 AD. The location of Byzantium attracted Constantine the Great in 324, after a prophetic dream was said to have identified the location of the city. Byzantium, now renamed Nova Roma, which eventually became Constantinopolis, or the city of Constantine, was officially proclaimed the new capital of the Roman Empire in 330. Constantine appreciated the advantageous location of Byzantium on the seaside because it was at the crossroads of Europe and Asia. He was also aware that Rome was an unsatisfactory capital, being that it was too far from the frontiers, hence from the armies and also the imperial courts. Constantinople was built over 6 years and consecrated on the 11th of May, 330. Constantine divided the large city, like Rome, into 14 regions, and used the foundation of the buildings in the city by using previous works and previous columns like marble, doors, and tiles taken from the temples of the empire and moved to the new city. Constantinople was also protected by a new wall about 2.8 kilometers west of the Severian Wall. Only the approximate course of the wall is known, as it is no longer visible today. Another one of Constantine's huge changes was the conversion to Christianity in 312, giving Christians religious freedom. Constantine's conversion to Christianity is often linked to a vision he received at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge in 312 CE. This vision, depicting a cross with the inscription, "By this sign you will conquer," which obviously would be in Latin, is said to have led Constantine to adopt the Christian symbol and attribute his subsequent victory to the Christian god. Constantinople's growth increased, but so did the rising threats from outside the city. From the death of Constantine in 337, new emperors like Valentinian rose and took over the Eastern Empire. During his reign, in 376, the Goths, led by Alaviverus and Friedegren, asked to be allowed to settle in the Eastern Roman Empire after being displaced by the invasions of the Huns. Hoping that they would become farmers and soldiers, the Eastern Roman Emperor Valens allowed them to establish themselves in the empire's allies. But once across the Danube River and into Roman territory, unfortunately, Maximus and Lupicinius, provincial commanders of the Roman Empire, convinced the Goths to revolt against Valens. As a part of the Gothic War of 376 to 382 AD, the battle is often considered the start of the events which led to the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century. After the overwhelming victory of the Goths and the death of the Roman Emperor Valens, the city looked to its defenses, and in 1413 to 1414, Theodosius II built the 18-meter or 60-foot tall triple wall fortifications. called the Theodosian Walls. Eventually, the barbarians overran the Western Empire, and Constantinople became the indisputable capital city of the Roman Empire. With the newfound city status, the Emperor Justinian I had the imperial backing to create substantial changes, with successes in war with reconquering Africa from the Vandals and Italy from the Goths, to legal reforms with the Code of Justinian, creating substantial law changes in Roman society. During Justinian I's reign, the city population had reached about 500,000 people. However, the social fabric of Constantinople was also damaged by the onset of the Plague of Justinian between 541 and 542 AD. It killed perhaps 40% of the city's inhabitants. In the early 7th century, the Avars and later the Bulgars overwhelmed much of the Balkans, threatening Constantinople with an attack from the west. Simultaneously, the Persian Sassanids overwhelmed the east and penetrated deep into Anatolia. Due to this, the current Roman Emperor Heraclius released that the city could no longer be supplied from Egypt, and the citizens lost their right to free grain in 618, with the population falling substantially as a result. The Persian army fought their way to the Bosphorus, but Constantinople was protected by the imperial walls and a strong navy, and Heraclius was able to avoid total defeat. In the image depicted here, Greek fire is used. It was an incendiary weapon system used by the Byzantine Empire from the 7th to 14th centuries. Today, it is still unknown what the contents of this substance was used to make such incendiary flames. Further disputes within the city between commercial guilds and churches continued up until the late 11th century, until further catastrophe struck with the unexpected defeat of the imperial armies at the Battle of Manzikert in Armenia in 1071. The decisive feat of the Byzantine army and capture of the Emperor Romanos IV Diogenes played an important role in undermining the Byzantine authority in Anatolia and Armenia, further weakening its power. Under the Comnenian dynasty, Byzantium pulled a remarkable recovery. In 1090, the nomadic Pechenegs reached the walls of Constantinople, where Emperor Alexis I, with the aid of the Kipchaks, annihilated their army. John II built a monastery of Pantocrator with a hospital for the poor with 50 beds inside. With the restoration of a strong government, the empire became extremely wealthy. The population was rising, with estimates in the 12th century being from 100,000 to 500,000. The money in circulation increased. With this could be seen in Constantinople by the construction of the Blanchenois Palace and the creation of brilliant new works of art, and increased trade, made possible by the growth of Italian city-states. After the death of Manuel I Komnenos in 1180, the elderly Andronikos rose to prominence in 1182. Andronikos seized power in the capital, and using his newfound power, incited the Massacre of Latins, a large-scale massacre of Italian-descendant Catholics in Constantinople by the Eastern Orthodox population, in April of 1182. The event severely affected political relations between the Western Europe and the Byzantium Empire. Due to this massacre, some of the Westerners sought some form of revenge. Alexios IV Angelos, the son of the deposed Emperor Isaac II Angelos, persuaded Boniface of Montferrat and the Venetians to help him reinstate his father and make him co-emperor of the Byzantines by diverting the Fourth Crusade from Jerusalem to Constantinople. In return, he promised 200,000 marks of silver as payment, as well as the submission of the Eastern Orthodox Church to Rome. Following the siege of Constantinople on August 1st, 1203, Alexios Angelos was crowned Emperor Alexios IV of the Byzantine Empire. He attempted to pacify the city, but the riots between the anti-Crusader Greeks and the pro-Crusader Latins broke out later that month and lasted until November, during which, most of the time, the populace began to turn against him after his questionable rulings. After the death of co-emperor Isaac II, riots broke out in which the people deposed Alexios IV. He turned to the Crusaders for help, but was imprisoned by the imperial chamberlain Alexios Doukas, who declared himself the emperor on the 5th of February before executing Alexios IV by strangulation. Alexios V then attempted to negotiate with the Crusaders for a withdrawal from Byzantium territory, but they refused in order to avenge Alexios IV and receive the money that was promised. In March 1204, the Crusader and Venetian leadership decided on an outright conquest of Constantinople in order to settle debts, and drew up a formal agreement to divide the Byzantine Empire between them. For the next half a century, Constantinople was under the rule of the Latin Empire. Under the leaders of the Latin Empire, the city declined, both in population and condition of its buildings. After the destruction wrought by the Crusaders on the city, about 1/3 of the population were homeless. Many of the Greek Byzantines fled to Nicaea. Nicaea and Epirus both competed for the imperial title and tried to recover Constantinople. In 1261, Constantinople was captured from its last Latin ruler, Baldwin II, by forces of the Nicaean emperor Michael Palaiologos under the command of Caesar Alexios Strategopoulos. Although Constantinople was retaken by Michael Palaiologos, the empire had lost many of its key economic resources and struggled to survive. By 1337, the Ottomans had conquered the western part of Asia Minor. Eventually, in 1361, the Ottomans defeated the Byzantines of Adrianople, becoming the Turkish city of Edirne. With these territories conquered, the Ottomans completely surrounded the Byzantine Empire. In 1397, Constantinople was sieged by the Turks, but the Theodosian walls protected the city. In 1423, the city was once again sieged, but the walls stood against the force of the Turks. The Byzantine Empire finally came to an end when the Ottomans breached Constantinople's ancient fortifications after besieging the city for almost 2 months, with new artillery weaponry that finally punctured the indestructible walls. Today, much of Constantinople's history has been lost to time, but even so, we can still see some remnants of its ancient past that linger even in our modern world. For lasting 1,100 years and only being breached after the invention of gunpowder, it is safe to say that Constantinople will forever be remembered in history as one of the longest lasting cities in the entirety of human history.